What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Doe Show. It's your boy Dame D, and I am back with another one. Today we're gonna be talking. We're gonna be having Freestyle Friday, and you will never guess who's in the building with me today.
It's your boy E Skeezy. What up, though?
Hey, Skeezy, what the dealio?
Chillin'. You know me. What up,
Man,
Dame D?
what's been going on, man? Long time no motherfucking see.
Yeah. I feel like I've been up in the on the mountain like Moses. You see, I done got more gray. But yeah, your boy is back in the building. I'm back like behind your stomach.
There we
But
go,
what's
man. You're
good
back.
with you?
Listen, you're back like you never left, man. Everything is
Yeah.
good, man. I am blessed. I'm definitely blessed to have you back on the show with me today. I need for you guys to
Good to
like,
be
comment,
back.
subscribe, and share. It helps the channel grow. We got E Skeezy back in the building with us. I'm getting ready to do
Excuse
audio and a video check real quick. So give me 1 second, you guys. So I'm just trying to make sure that we can be seen and we can be heard. So, but East Keezy, man, how's your day
Yeah.
been going?
Man, it's been a rough one, but that don't even matter because I'm to this point now, and I ain't coming this far to come this far, you know.
There
So
we go. There we
I'm excited to be back. I definitely been on the mountaintop as well as the valleys low, but I got expectations for the years to come, and we getting ready to jump on this 5-year plan, baby. I got a vision and a dream like King, and it's gonna bring finances, wealth, and everything. I got a vision and a dream like King, and it's gonna bring finances, wealth, and everything. I got a vision and a dream.
Okay, so we can be heard. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. I need for each and every one of you
All the
guys to
way
make sure
live.
that you like, comment, subscribe, and share. We got E Skeezy back in the building. You know, um,
Back in the
right
building.
now it looks like my video is a little bit, I'm waiting on I've been having a little few technical difficulties. I'm watching it and and I see my video is not all the way clear, but it should be clearing up. My router sometimes been fucking up, but E Skeezy. Go on
Yo,
ahead
yo.
and lead us off today, man. Talk about what's on your mind. You know, um, and let's talk. Let's kind of finish up what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, well, it's a lot going on in the world. Definitely a lot to talk about, but you know us, we ain't just talking. So we bringing awareness. We raising eyebrows, and trying to bring our people together. Uh, we mentioned the 5-year plan. I heard you said you did it on a show earlier, something similar, but it's about bringing family together, working with family, and gaining wealth with family. A lot of families do it and they are successful with it. Families that come together and stick together, they all wind up at success even if they branch off later. Let's look at the families that we come out of. The Jacksons, that's a strong family. Yeah, they had their issues just like every family, but all of them got cash. All of them got money. They well off. They taken care of. The Jets, uh, uh, the list go. The Kardashians. Think of the families that come together, but we all try to do it single handedly, and we wind up either maintaining or struggling. But to be comfortable, and we don't know what's to come in the years ahead, so we may have to come together like they did back in the day. You it's good to be close in the family. And me, for instance, a lot of my family, we scattered abroad. I got a sister in Muskegon, a sister in Dallas. a sister in Atlanta, we all over the place. If they drop a bomb or something and we lose all communication, we ain't gonna be able to get in touch. It's gonna be a lot going on. But it's nothing uh better than to know your family gonna be taken care of. Your family can survive some things, y'all will be able to eat. Y'all have money set aside for hard times. Cause look at what we're going through now, a government shutdown. And there's a lot of people relying on the government right now. And they give you a crutch so you can get better, not to live with for the rest of your life. So that's why it's good to set yourself up to where you don't have to rely on the government. But you got war veterans that have to rely on the government. You got disabled children that have to rely on the government, and there's a lot of people depending on those checks. And if they don't give out checks on the first, it's a lot of family waiting and depending on food stamps. That'll cause a uproar in the whole system, the United States. So that's something that's been on my heart before a government shutdown even came about. Like bringing family together and working as a unit. You know, it's
And
easier.
we got a few people watching. You got to excuse me right now. I'm trying to get my. I don't know what's going on with my router. I see the video. It's coming through kind of poor, so I'm waiting on that to straighten out. But in the meantime, in the between time, you guys definitely can hear me. But no, E Skeezy, you are absolutely right, man. Look, what's more better than trying to start a business and run a business, and you have your family 100% backing you and behind you, because you can't do everything by yourself. So what's wrong with trying to have family have you help you along the way 100%, and everything that you're trying to do in that in that venture, so East Skeezy came to me. We had a conversation earlier about what I was doing, and we had a good conversation and talk. I'm like, like, look, my doors has always been open, to anyone who wanted to come in and and do this with me, and it still is. Skeezy has been with me since the beginning. you know um you guys may have not seen him in the last few months, but he's still been with me. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about, man. It's
I ain't
all
been locked
about,
up either.
yeah, and like I say, give me a second, guys. I see my audio is not coming in because I'm waiting on my router to connect, and I don't know what's going on. But at the end of the day, what more can a person want?
You said it best, D. Families. It's
Yeah, I
simple
was
as
just getting
that.
ready to
We
say that
we
again.
said
What more than would make your job or a venture or anything that you're trying to do, would make it better than to have family, doing it with you. Like when I first came into this podcast and I started doing this, a lot of people do it on their own, and a lot of people have successful shows. The person that actually, you know, and what's the word that I'm looking for? The person that actually inspired me to actually want to do a show. He does it on his own, and it's a very successful show, but most of the shows that are very successful, it's multiple people or more, so that's why, when I originally did this East Keys, I had you in mind, you know what I mean? And I definitely wanted you to, do this with me, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, this router is still not picking up a signal, but we're still going to do it East Keys. We still going to make this show happen. Right
for
now,
sure,
we
for
both
sure.
looking a little choppy. My My reception is not 100%. But no, man, the conversation we had today, I've been excited all day. I couldn't wait to get home. Um, and just come in and finish having this conversation with you and Lori. You know what I mean? Lori was supposed to be on the show with us tonight. She was going to be another female personality that's going to be on the show that we're going to add to the show and bring a little bit more um, conversation with a female, and we still have LaShawn, who is our other, female point of view that comes on the show, but, we're definitely going to bring Lori in, and we're going to bring her in and we're going to add her, to the show. We're going to have, more interesting conversations that involves, insight from both man and women, but it's easy, you talk a little bit more and and I'll allow you to, elaborate on what we talked about earlier. Why I'm trying to actually see why this freaking router is not picking up the signal.
I was thinking of most families that's successful, as we was talking earlier, and uh, I was watching your show you did recently about Chauncey Billups, and that's one of the families that stick together, and they all are wealthy. The mafia. Now, why we can't come together, a family as a mafia? You see what I mean? Concerned about everybody, supportive of everybody, got the back of everybody in your family. We say we will and we do, but you got enough family to push you to wherever you trying to go. You know what I mean? I got enough family to push me wherever, but we ain't got no godfather we could go to and say, Godfather, I got this business venture and such and such and such. And he said, here you go, just give me 30% or whatever, but that's the same way. If your family take care of you and push you to the top, of course you're not gonna forget about them. So if you make it, they make it. But family is always like, what is it gonna cost them to help somebody else? You can't look at it like that because you're really helping yourself when you help your family. You got to look at your family like a part of your body, a part of your hand. You don't discriminate which side of your body you wash. You wash both your feet, you wash your knees, you wash your back, and all of that. That's how family is. It's supposed to be a body. That's why that name is a bloodline. So you taking care of your blood, you know? Who wouldn't
Right.
want to take care of their blood? Who wouldn't want to see their blood make it? You know?
Exactly. And when we talked about this earlier today, I was excited about that. It kind of like, relit a fire in me, because I'm like, look, I'm like, hey, you hit it right on the nose. What more, better than to have family, be able to help you in something that you want to do, and then that, like, and then not only that, what I and what I brought to the table with you guys, I'm like, look, it's not just about me. I want everybody to be able to, do their own thing. And we don't have to talk about everything that we talked about and what we're going to do, but it's not about me and the what and the What Up Though show. It's about the What Up Though show being able to put out great content and then be able to help others, like like Lori and and whoever else
Right.
wants to,
Pretty much
be
right
able to
now, the What
come
Up
on this
Though show.
platform.
The What Up, exactly. It's a platform for your family, and you have presented it like that as always, from the beginning. But it's gonna take the family to see that and come together. Some family do participate and support. Shout out to BJ3, Big Hen,
Yeah,
Q Dog, people that you see on the show uh,
yeah,
that do
and,
believe in
and
the
I'm
What
glad you
Up
said
Though
that.
show.
Look, um, I'm not gonna say family don't support me, but um, and I want to give a shout out to those who do support me. My Q Nitty, Big Hen, BJ3,
Yeah.
who else? East Keezy, if I don't want to miss any names. DJ Shiny D, who's my co-host, my female personality, you know, um,
Big
Real Talk
talk.
with Big Dave. Um, and if I'm forgetting anybody else, I apologize. But no, but the thing is, what we were talking about, I have many more family members, out there that do not support me, and that's the thing that we were talking about. Your family is not. Look, and I'm just going to be honest. We talked about this. Your family will not support you in your dream. You know, um, only time family will support is once they see that you got shit up, going and running, and it's successful. And it's
Yeah.
not just family. It could be friends too. So I won't just say that. And that's just black people in general. We talked about this earlier. Other races. And I'll just say with the Mexicans. They start off from the beginning. Everybody's from ground zero. They'll do everything in their power, in their nature. To be able to uplift each and every one. If one person or what they'll do is they'll uplift one person, that they know that has the potential to be able to lead, and that'll be able to guide the family and do the right thing, once, they're up and they make it, so they'll push that person, they'll get behind that person,
Right.
and the family will make sure that that person is successful. So, and this is kind of like the conversation that me and East Keezy were talking about earlier. You know what I mean? And I'm the type of person that, I don't want it to be, just about me. I want others that, that I love, um, and my other, my friends and my family members to also be successful. So because you can't do everything by yourself. You're always going to need some type of help. But East Keezy, go on ahead and you come on in and give me your 1-2 on what what we talked about and how successful a family could be when they're when they're together and they're thinking on the same page.
Well, I had a vision
Because
of.
listen, we've saw, and not to cut you off, I'm gonna let you flow, and I'm gonna stop because we saw the blueprint, of how a successful family succeed, and how a family together will be successful, from just the Arabs, the Chaldeans that we see, the Mexicans that we see, every day around us. They build themselves up, they build each and everyone up, until everyone is successful. But go ahead, Skeezy.
Yeah, basically, the vision, just like you said, you can learn from those blueprints. A Mexicans will live in a 5 bedroom house with 6 families. Now the rent is maybe $2,000. So out of the 5 families, they only paying maybe $375 a piece, or you know, they sharing that bill, they sharing the light bill, and in a 5 year plan, they all got new cars. They all
Yeah,
got their own house now. They all done started their little brick mason business, land care business, because they had money to invest by coming together, spending less on rent and bills, stuff that's taking you out one by one. But if you come together like a family, instead of dangling the loose like a finger, ball up that fist. Your fist is much stronger than a finger, and your family is gonna be stronger together than apart. If you was in the fight, first thing you did back in the day, your family had your back. If you ain't had homeboys, your family was there. You had to go get your brother, but if we already there, we could aid one another better. Feed off your ideas, encourage you, lift you up when I see you down. I ain't got a call. I'm right there to check on you, and just like a village, it take a village. And our kids getting out of control, and we gotta make a way for them. If it's hard for us, how much harder you think it's gonna be for them in the future? So by us coming together is securing that future for our children, our children's children. And the vision he gave me about the house with all of us in it. We got comedians in the family. We got book writers. We got entrepreneurs. We have
Hey,
uh,
East Keezy,
uh,
and what's so crazy? If you don't believe me, when we done with the show, you can call my mom. That vision that you had, I've always had that vision as a kid. I thought, that my athletics will be able to put me in a position where, and I've always told my mama this. I said I was going to always buy a house where I was going to be able to put, my family and, my siblings and my mom and stuff, and we would all live on this compound together. You know what I mean? And I'm still working at it. I think that would be the ultimate, and we talk, and I talked about this conversation the other day at work. That would be the ultimate living and goal. And it's it'll be like I'm not gonna say everything will be ice cream and cake, but you always have your differences. But what more? Could a man or a woman want, having their family with them, they're running the business, they're successful, and just living a life, like how we supposed to live it, man. And I've always had that vision since I was a child.
if I could put a picture to your vision, I'm gonna try to share it with the people. Imagine you able to buy something like this and come together, working with your family. The whole family got a business, businesses inside of businesses, their own business as well as one business. And then the success looked like this. Everybody got cars, and this the building. Your family own this building.
All right.
And that's everybody vehicle. You ain't got to go too far to check on grandma. You ain't got to go too far to see auntie, you know. But it's all a part of a business. And I noticed when they say it take a village, everybody in the village is contributing some form of
Listen,
fashion.
and when they all listen, and that always, and now since I'm able to understand that, I always understood what it meant, but we talk a lot of shit, but we don't back that shit up because you don't see a lot of people that's doing what we're talking about, and that village. And what we're talking about will be a village where, you have people that, will, you know, um, like if they see your child doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, that other person will take charge and and make sure that that they discipline that child. You know what I mean? As far as things
Yeah.
like that, so but it definitely takes a village, man. And I think, a family, living in a village and and just just being able to live in harmony, and being able to um, make sure that the dreams and the venture and the business ventures that each and every one wants to be able to do can come into fruition. And that's what it's about, man. Just trying to be successful and just trying to be happy as a family. Because right now, we're all separated. We're a family, but we're a separated family.
Right. We fingers right now. And we trying to
Yeah,
come together like Voltron. Each cat was smooth by themselves, but when they came together, and form Voltron, Optimus Prime, the Transformers, you see when they come together, all types of things. But family that come together and stick together, they make a success of each one. Not just one, but the whole family becomes. All the Jacksons were successful, not just Mike. When you get into family business and support family, look at the Wayans family. Keenan might have started something and had a vision, but they jumped on board and supported. Now all of them are successful, even down to the youngest. And you got the talent. The word even say your gift will make room for you. He gave some one, some five, some 10 talents. And a lot of us we bury those talents. You took steps towards big success. Like you were saying, you had that vision as well as me. I had a vision of making it big time with music. I took those steps. I made it to the radio. I did concerts, tours, and but things didn't go as planned. But my vision was to be able to take care of my family, and that's anybody vision that's thinking about family. But family coming together, being able to live in uh it don't even have to be one house, but in the neighborhood. Imagine owning a neighborhood with a cul-de-sac, and you ain't got to go too far to see none of your family, and everybody got a business, but you still have one big building where the whole family come and support the business, whatever matter of fact, it's a show, family business, pretty much.
yeah. And like I said, man, listen, when you came to me, and we got a few people watching, right now we're having a few technical difficulties with the audio. I'm looking at it right now. It's a little choppy. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but hopefully this router or whatever connect, it'll come in. But listen, we're talking about family and just trying to uplift and back one each another, just trying to have each okay, this basically this is what we're talking about. Most people that's successful, they have a backing of their family that's behind them and everything that they're do, and everything that they do, therefore, and I'll give you an example. We're talked about the Chaldeans that that's down here, the Mexicans, all of them will be, in one household, and they'll uplift one until that one is successful, and he'll be able to venture out and do his thing, and then they'll uplift the next one. So that's what we're about, man. We're about trying to uplift, and that's a conversation that we had. And Skeezy can go ahead and explain a little bit more about, what we're talking about, man. We're talking about family and just trying to uplift one another.
So in the future, you're gonna see family coming together, cause time's gonna get harder. Who not better to be able to depend on than your family.
Then family.
And uh you got L Boogie. She very funny. She have a doctorate and a degree in the life she's been through. And I'm quite sure it's hundreds of women that's been through similar things. So we gonna introduce a show with her uh, looking for love with Lori. You know, Lori
There we
looking
go.
for love. We still spitballing, but I'm sharing vision and things to bring a family together. All thanks to the What Up Though platform. Uh, you'll have me back to the What Up Though show. We're gonna do more awareness. We're gonna bring you more content. We'll have funny skits. You see it on TikTok every day. There's plenty of people. They'll soon have, if they're not already having it, they'll have award shows for TikTok reels, YouTube hosts, and everything. And you're gonna see people receiving awards, and these platforms are making millionaires. So uh, it. So why not invest it in your family and share some content and use your gift? I do comedy. And together, me and my family, I feel like we could have been the Wayans family, if not
Yeah,
funnier. You
and
know,
just like earlier, we were having this conversation. It's a group of gentlemen out of Atlanta. I don't know how related they are, but from what I see, they're friends. And each and every one of them, they have uplifted, each and every one of those social media platforms where, each and every one of those guys are monetized. So
right?
and that's what it's about, man. They stuck together, they stood together, they worked with each other, they did their skits, they did they put up content to the point where now and it was a group of five, I believe. All every each five of those guys are monetized. They're all making money. And that's what it's about, man. It's about you know um trying to make each and every one that's around you, that believe in your dream, trying to make yourself and the people that's around you successful too. And that's what we talked about, because at the end of the day, man, it's not about one person, it's about the group,
Man,
and if you can get everybody to understand that and get everybody up under the same on the same page, and on the same mindset, I should say, it's going to be successful,
and
and
it's
that's what
gonna
we're
it's
going to
gonna be.
do, and we're going to make sure that that happens.
I know some people think, oh, you can't do this with family. You, yeah, you can. You just got to be verbal, upfront, and fair. You got to consider yourself. You got to not think of yourself. Matter of fact, don't even think about yourself. Think more about the next person in your family than yourself, and that's how everybody esteem and push one another. You want that family member on the team that motivate you, that want to push you to the next level, not pull you back or hold you down.
Right.
All family members ain't supportive, ain't for you. You know, they still family, but they don't have to be a part of what you got going on if it's not for the best interest, or they don't have your best interest. Some family will sabotage something. That's why we can't make it, because we've been thinking of selfish things or selfishness. If you thinking about the bigger picture and the family or somebody besides yourself, like I really don't care if I ever get rich, because I feel like I always have everything I need, and what I think I want, I might not even need. So I care more about my family being comfortable than myself. I take care of my kids, my wife, make sure they good if I don't even have. So that's what it's about. You'll see, and you're gonna have to generate resources and incomes, and you see how hard it is for you by yourself. So with family, I'm telling you, you come together with family, you might have to just think about it. If you could take 5 or not even 5, just say two families, and go get
I
a
can hear you.
five
I can
bedroom
hear you,
house.
E, but I can't see you. Your picture don't went out, so you might want to come back in. I don't know what happened. Excuse the audio. What's been going on. Look like E Skeezy just dropped out, but yeah, and that's what it's about, man. We've been having some technical difficulties with the audio today, with the video, I should say. Not the audio. E Skeezy is getting ready to come back in, but man, at the end of the day, what E Skeezy was just talking about, man. I'm like, what more to have family behind what you're trying to do, to try to push you, because most successful, groups have their family backing them behind them, and pushing them, and that's what it's about, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we're going to do. But go ahead, E Skeezy, you're back in. Like I said, we've been having a few technical difficulties. We have a few people watching. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you're not subscribed to the channel, give me your thoughts, give me your opinion, on the conversation today. If you want to come in and join the conversation, put your DM me or put your email in the comments, and I'll be able to bring you in. But go ahead, Skeezy.
I want to say this. I hate to use this as a scenario, but I knew 3 brothers who used to be uh, robbing Peter to pay Paul, pretty much. I'm gonna say from rags to riches type story, and they all had individual jobs, but they were struggling, by themselves. And then one of the brothers had the idea, hey, let's get a pound, go in on the pound together. They went in on the pound, and then they kept flipping that pound. And then that pound became a couple of pounds, and now they all had pounds. And before you know it, pounds was many of pounds and more pounds than pounds. Anyway, you get the picture. They all was on. They all was doughboys or whatever. And if one fell off, another brother had enough to pick them back up and put them on. You know what I'm saying? And they stayed paid. I only use that as a scenario to show you family. If they family can make it doing that, come on now. Family can make it doing legit. You just got to put your mind to it. Y'all talk it up, figure out the ideas, then write the vision down and make it plain. Take the steps forward. It don't necessarily have to be streaming, YouTubing, but y'all can have a family business, a cooking, a restaurant, catering, what landscaping, building houses. You got uncle that do electrical work. You got a uncle that's a carpenter, a nephew that's a plumber. Y'all could come together and design and build houses, and before you know it, in the 5-year plan, you have your own company, and all y'all successful, all y'all paid, all y'all doing what y'all want to do on spare time because you could afford to do it. You're not relying on the government. If you do have to shut down for a while, you got money in the bank. You see how COVID ate a lot of people up because we was living check to check, and if the government didn't send nothing out, that could have took us out. So now with the way your president is doing things, it's like the rich is getting ready to be middle class, the middle class is getting ready to be poor, and the poor is getting ready to be homeless. You know, you gotta come together with your family
Yeah.
just to survive.
Yeah, and I try to stay out of politics unless, it's a subject that people are bringing up, because I have my opinion on this administration, but I want, that I'll talk about that another day. But at the end of the day, Skeezy, man, I'm all about family, and trying to be successful, with my family. Who more to be what more joy can you get out of trying to uplift yourself and then trying to uplift your family members with you. That's what it's about. You know what I mean? And we've gotten away from that. We've allowed other races and other groups to continue, to uplift themselves and their families. But we've gotten out of that. It's all about we've individualized everything. You know what I mean? Um, and that's what it's about. And that's what we're missing. We're missing, family and just trying to uplift each and every one of your family members. You know what I mean? Because it's not just you know you know when one person is successful, you know and that person doesn't do his duty to try to bring the others up. It's just a failure, I think, in my eyes. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you have to do your due diligence, and especially if one has the means to be able to uplift and bring everybody else up, or if that family comes together, and just try to bring each and everyone up else each and every one of the that group up, I should say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we see other races doing it all the time, and why can't we do it? And we'll go back to like you were saying earlier, like the Wayne brothers. You know what I mean? Each and one of those guys made sure that they uplifted each and every one in that group to the point where everyone was successful.
And I want to say this. Gotta put friends in your life that's just as close as family, like an extended family. Uh, because when you said the Wayans brothers, like in Living Colors started, and they was as a family. They came together, all types of humor and comedy, just like my family. And the show by itself was a success, and it was such a success. Each one of them became successful individually. You see what I'm saying? You still can have your own thing,
All
but
right.
you stem from the family. The root of it is family. Uh, the leaves come later, but when you stay together like a family tree, supposed to, you'll get there. But a branch by itself, that ain't nothing but a stick.
Yeah. And that's what we are on. And that's the vision that I see. And that's where that's what I'm on. Excuse me. Yeah, I got excuse. My doors has always been open to my family and my friends. That's the type of platform that I have. And look like East Skeezy just jumped out, but East Skeezy, I can hear you, but I can't
I'm
see you.
here.
Okay.
You can't
So, but
see
yeah,
me?
that's what we on, man. So it's Freestyle Friday. We have a few people watching. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You know, um, it looks like like the router don't kick in. I don't know how clear it is, but we should be clear. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. But man, today we're talking about family, and just uplifting each and everyone in that group, in that family group that comes together to try to be successful. And that's what it's about. What more pride or what more joy can you get from trying to uplift yourself and your family members at the same time? That's what we're talking about.
Well, we got these National Guards. We gonna call them NGs. Shifting around. Your boys sending them places. Other people feel they don't belong. So how you sending out National Guards to cities, and cities is now offended, far as the police, because if I send a couple dudes to your house to raise your kids, and tell your old lady what to do. You gonna feel like I'm doing my job. What is y'all doing here? You know, and that's how the police feel in Chicago. Yeah,
Right.
I heard word that the police don't even want them there. You know, it's like beefing with the police now. National Guards and the police beefing. But
Yeah, and it's something we talked about earlier. I understand, where, the local police may feel offended that that the feds are coming in or whatever, backups or the feds may be coming in. So I understand. It may make them look like they're not doing their jobs. But at the same time, it's like the conversation that we had earlier, Easkeezy. You know, look, the violence and everything that goes on in these cities where like Chicago, it's jobs for you know I'm just going to be honest, for our counterparts, for everything that we do negative or we get locked up for, our counterparts has created jobs for their peoples to be able to oversee, things like where we did negatively or get caught up in the in the justice system. You know what I mean? So there's jobs created for their people to be able to oversee us. You know what I mean? And we have to realize that we have not realized that, at all. Those are things that we have to, going forward, that we have to realize that. And these are things that we're trying to do over here. We're trying to make jobs and just trying to, employ our families like how our counterparts have, created jobs for, everything that we may do negatively, get locked up. There's going to be a probation officer. There's going to be a CO. There's going to be law enforcement people that's going to oversee every single thing that we do. There's going to be I can go on and on and on from jobs that has been created, for the justice system, for you know not just us, for other people too, but mainly, everything that that we can think of that that's that they can capitalize on, and they've made jobs for their people to have jobs, on things that that we make mistakes on, and that's just being real, and a lot of people don't look at it like that, but that's how I look at life. Our counterparts have made jobs off of us making mistakes throughout life. So there's jobs for everything that we've done, negatively, and they're put they people in position to have these jobs.
like for
Y-
instance, to explain better what he's trying to say,
So I'm a little
is
tipsy too,
when
but
niggas
but
start
break it down a
cheating
little
on their
bit.
taxes, they came out with the IRS.
Yeah.
When niggas
So
start
and basically what I was saying is Skeezy, I'm gonna sum it up. Everything that it's been jobs created, for our counterparts in the whole justice system. They set up a justice system, in the whole justice system, the prison to pipeline, it's definitely been working, and it's jobs that's been set up. You have probation officers, you have COs, you have you have wow, I can't think of the
bail
names, but
bondsmen.
yeah, bails, bondsmen, and just things like that. That supports, and that supports, that gives jobs out to our to their people. You know what I mean? So you got to excuse
The
me. You know,
policing.
yeah, but yeah, it's been jobs created for everything that we do negatively, up under these laws that we've been put up under, and you have to realize that we generate money, for this society, and that's what's been going on. And people have to realize that, we're living in a dominated, society that's dominated by, our counterparts, and our counterparts has set themselves up where they have jobs in every situation where we fuck up. And that's what I'm trying to say. I've been drinking, so I'm a little tipsy, but for the most part, that's what's been going on. They have set up a system, and it's law, and it's a law system. They set up a system where they have jobs where they're able to employ their people, and everything that we do negatively, and that's crazy, when you think about it.
Facts, facts.
Yeah. But I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I may be having a little technical difficulties. I'm looking on my Apple iPad. It looks a little cloudy, but I'm looking on my phone. It looks clear. So if it's not clear, excuse me. But we're still trying to get a message across. It looks like like the internet is jumping in and jumping out. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, it's about family and trying to make family successful and trying to back each and other. You know what I mean? Some people can do it by themselves and be successful, but what's more, if you're the only one successful in your family, something is wrong. You have to be able to uplift those around you. That's what it's about.
That's where the fortune is in your family.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about at the end of the day, but it's Freestyle Friday. We have multiple conversations, what else you got on your mind, Eskies?
What's up with
Yesterday
all this AI?
yeah, not just the AI. I wanted to say this, and like I said, you guys gotta excuse me. Yesterday we were talking about yeah, go ahead, Eskies. Sorry about that, man. It's been a minute. I'll give you the flow.
Oh, you good? You good? You want to talk about the Chauncey Billups situation?
Yeah, I was going to say that, man. I want to talk about that for a little bit, but I have not. I've been at work all day, so I don't know what's been going on. And today with the news. So I don't know if you listened to what had happened yesterday about the whole Chauncey Billups situation, but yeah, it was a horrible situation. I'm a diehard Pistons fan. We love Mister but Billups, it
Right,
was a horrible
right.
situation that he allowed himself to get caught up in a situation like that to jeopardize his career, and put his livelihood on the line, man. You know what I mean? So, give me your thoughts on that. That's been, the topic that's been going around for the last day or two.
I mean, really, uh, we gonna speak allegedly, because we heard he been arrested. They got something on him, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't trust none of the news. Uh, they have position to filter anything. Believe it or not, it is plenty of people in prison locked up that are innocent. They can document stuff, and this even stem back to family, because I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee, but I feel like he was a part of something as a face, and when it was time to give somebody up out of all the families they naming, they picked these names they could afford to lose, and that will satisfy the press and everything else. Uh, but see, if you with family, now you ain't got to worry about getting thrown up under the bus like that. I'm talking real family, because some family will betray you like that. But he just a big name and a face, and I spoke of this a while back. Like, uh, once they start gambling with sports and made it legal, all this betting on the games, I don't trust none of the games. Like, I don't trust none of the championships, because they got headpieces, earpieces. They could say, hey, we gonna have to pay out too much money if you get over 200 yards. So Gibbs slow it down, and he get right at 299, but he don't get 300. You know, because of the parlay or whatever. Uh, it's a ring that anybody could be attached to if a player say, "Hey, I'm gonna drop 30 tonight," you know, and now he getting arrested because he gave a tip he was finna drop 30, you know, and all of this is all going on because they allow gambling to come into sports. Now it's not sports like it used to be. It's further than just Vegas now. You could gamble on it from your phone, so you know they making buku money when people don't have to go nowhere and can press a button and make money on their phone gambling or lose money on their phone. So now they now they excuse me. Now they trying to say coaches and players are involved in this. You see, you can't give tips on none of the game. You can't speak on the game, or you gonna be involved in things like this. And we really don't know if he did it or not, what part he played. You know, we only could go by what they say. We ain't heard from Chauncey saying he took a plea or nothing. We ain't hear him say he did it. I want to hear from his lawyers. You know, I'm sure he got a nice defense. So
Yeah, and we talked about that yesterday, man. At the end of the day, the feds have been involved. When they come on the scene, and they said this has been a 2-year investigation.
right,
So that means they have plenty of evidence, to back up their investigation. We talked about this last night. It doesn't. This doesn't start with Chauncey Billups, Rozier, or Damon Jones. This started years ago. And what I think the feds is trying to do, Skeezy, they're trying to go back to the beginning, to see where this shit started, because
right,
it didn't start with Chauncey Billups. I
right,
promise you that.
right. And
You
like
know,
we gotta I'm telling you, all I'm saying is right now, if they wanted to, hypothetically speaking, say Jim Beam is his name. If they wanted to frame Jim Beam because he got the cure for any disease with one little $3 pill or something, this just follow me. And they say we gotta damage this man, we gotta pin it on somebody. Right now, today, this time in what I just jumped in and said earlier, with AI, they could document, they could put your face like you was there, they could have your picture like it was really you and say Photoshop. I'm telling you, stuff is crazy. So if they wanna frame somebody, they can. If you didn't do it, they can make it look like you did. And all we gonna know is what they tell us on the news. We never get to personally talk to these individuals. You know, you don't believe in a hurricane story, and if we would have never seen that on TV, we would have never knew how innocent this man was. We would have just talked about this man for life, like, oh, that's the man that murdered them two people. But the whole case was trumped up and they had to dismiss it, and he was free after. You see what I'm saying? Just like we had the Bill Cosby case, OJ case, R. Kelly case. All right, hypothetically speaking, what if R. Kelly didn't pee on him and they just had the video making it look like he peed on him to destroy his character? And immediately, because we saw it on TV, we like, oh, that motherfucker, he wrong, and yada yada. But they had that power. We ain't got no, right now it's only one black man, and they still control what he air and put out. And that's Tyler Perry. That got his own studio where he could create and make whatever he want to see. That's another man and a team that came together and did big things, you know. But that's another
and,
story.
and he's under the arrest. for sexual allegations against,
Yeah, and
you
we
know,
don't we don't know. See what I'm saying? When you get
yeah,
too big, they can come at you in so many ways. I mean, nah, I don't know. Anyway, that's the storm and the story they got to go through and get to tell. But it ain't nothing like being accused of something you didn't do. And a lot of times when you have to explain yourself, that can make you look guilty. You know, what if you really did see an alien? But if you telling everybody else that you seen an alien, you gonna look crazy. So, and they know that. You know, I done seen people calmly accuse me of something, and I'm getting mad because they accusing me. Now I'm looking like the aggressor, like what you getting all mad for if you ain't do it. You see what I'm saying? Like R. Kelly said, this is my life. I'm fighting for my
right.
life.
Yeah, and I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Welcome E Skeezy back to the show. It's been a
Good to
minute.
be
He's
back.
been MIA. We have a few people watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Comment down below. I definitely would love to hear you guys' opinion. It's Freestyle Friday. We have a few conversations that's going on. We're talking about the whole Chauncey Billups situation. We were also talking about, family and business and uplifting family within the business. You know what I mean? But go ahead, E Skeezy. Go ahead and elaborate on what you were talking about.
Well, last and furthermost, I want to talk about this AI. Like I'm saying, they could make the technology we got right now is just crazy. Like some of the AI is good, some of the AI is just sick with it. Like they even got goggles for the military that can see through walls. That's technology we didn't have. Now, think about it. That's good for the military or the police, but we always get our hands on their guns, everything else. Pretty soon it's gonna be black market with it, and now you got people on the streets with goggles that could see through walls. Now that's good technology for when it comes down to policing and military trying to save somebody or rescue somebody. But what about the peeping times? Now they just looking through walls, walking up to hotels, and you see what I'm saying? Like some things we shouldn't even play with. And just like the movie Megan, they are really making girlfriends that you can order and create how you want them to be. And I'm telling you, 2035, you ain't gonna be able to tell is this nigga walking with a real chick looking nice or is that an AI? Is that a builder
Yeah.
bitch? You gonna be
Yeah, well,
like, dang,
you got to know some of the things that you talked about that they're already doing now, and
right,
already did.
right,
They've already had these sex styles, a few years ago
right. We
that they
talked
came
about
out
that.
that was real big when they first came out. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, but I agree with you 100%. About things that you were saying, but a few of those things they've already done thus far.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
RoboCops and everything. iRobot, Gemini Man, cloning humans. By 2035, what I'm saying is it's gonna be more common. Just like the community is more common now than it was in the 90s. You see what I mean?
Right.
And when I say community, LGBTQ, elemental P, you know, that's more common now. So we accept it. It's in our face more. And it's not like it was, you see, like with the TV, we never saw the opposite sex kissing. We barely saw kisses on TV, let alone a boob or breast. And nowadays you will see dick and balls on TV. You see what I'm saying? It'd be more common. So imagine how TV is gonna be in 2035.
Well,
Like,
what we have to do as straight heterosexual men and women that that's out there, we have to be able to talk to our children about these things that that's being promoted, that we don't believe in. We have to do our due diligence on informing our youth on this bullshit, because they have ushered in this homosexual lesbian act and made it
right.
to the point where it's normal. You know what I mean? It's gotten out of control. You know, where it's to the point where it's acceptable. When at one point, 20 years ago, it was looked upon as a mental illness. And it definitely needs to go back to that, because that's exactly what it is. It's a mental illness if you think that that you should be sleeping, or having relations with the same sex. you know so we've been tricked. We've been fooled to think that things that we once looked at and frowned upon, now we accept these things. We have to get out of that mindset. We've been brainwashed. We've been tricked. you know um and we've accepted, a lot of things that we did not accept under the Obama administration at that. So but I'll allow you to elaborate, Skeezy. This is definitely going to be another conversation, for what we're talking about. But we've been tricked, and we've failed for the banana and the tailpipe. We've allowed our women. I mean, look at the mindset of our women now, Skeezy. These are conversations that I have every day at work. And I ask questions about different things just to see, and just to get an opinion, or to see what the mindset of our women and men are at. And the mindset of our women, it's not a good look. We are the only our women are the only group of women that think that they don't need a man, and our men ain't shit.
uh, see who call on who first. They making pocket pussies. They making these sex dolls. 9 times out of 10, what are you asking your old lady for versus what she asking you for? Like, you might ask for something to eat. You could buy something to eat. A woman need a man, and a man need a woman. It ain't
Yeah,
good
and I
for a
want to
man to
ask you
be
that,
alone.
Easy. Does that? I want to ask you that question. Does that bother you when you hear a woman say, "Oh, I don't need a nigga for shit," or "A nigga ain't shit"?
I mean, it don't bother me because that's their prerogative, to be honest. I feel like I get it. You don't need them, but wouldn't you want it better? It's better with. You see what I'm saying? You ever just ate a peanut butter sandwich? That's a little thick. You ever ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Ain't that better?
Hey, listen,
Because there's
and,
some women making it without a man. So a
yeah,
woman
and
don't
I'm
need
not
a
saying
man.
some women don't make it without a man. That that's not the conversation. The conversation is that our women is the only group of women. And we talked about this yesterday at work. They tried to point out certain shows that white women do, but I don't think I hear groups of white women, Asian women, Mexican women talking about that their men ain't shit, and that they don't
I
need their
get it.
win.
I
I
get
mean,
it.
they're men. I think it's the only group of women that you hear saying this shit is, our women. And that's a problem. For our women to think that they don't need us, in a household to be able to be there to be able to raise the children, and that we not shit. That's a problem.
I mean,
And our
I'm
women
gonna
seem
say
to
I'm
think
gonna
that
say this.
that it's not a problem. But go ahead,
Look, I'm gonna
Skeezy.
say this. Uh, Other races do it. They just do it in different ways. Ours are well, our race is verbal with it. They saying it all on TV and videos and on reality shows and
And well,
TikTok.
and that's a
But
problem.
the other
You know,
race, they
it's one. My bad, Skeezy. It's one thing. You know, keeping it, you know, and this is the difference between our race and other races. You know, they'll keep things like that, you know, from getting into the mainstream media or keep it amongst themselves. You know, but you know, and that's why you don't hear other races like Asians. You know, and I'm going to even say white women. You know, saying that they don't, that their men are not shit and that they don't need them in a household. You know, and this is a conversation stemming from what I had earlier. You know, I think that the feminist movement destroyed the mindset of the black woman. Give me your opinion on that.
my thing is, before I forget, I was gonna say, uh the other races do it, is just in different ways. Our race is more verbal, just like our dance and our athleticism. And it's like they'll do it as in tell you get the hell out and I'm divorcing you and taking half. You see, they get the financial way, tearing they race down. They had a
Yes, but yeah, oh,
men ready
and I
to
get it, but they never do it into the point where they're meaning the race. You know, they're making the man look like he's not shit. You know, they'll never compromise the
I'm
group.
finna sign out, D. I think my phone finna die.
Okay, well, look, you know, if it dies, then come back in. If not, you know, I'll go on ahead and you know, keep it going. And if you come back in, you come back in. If not, you know, I'll eventually close it out. You know, it's been, you know, over an hour and 12 minutes. But yeah, you know, to me, you know, I think that's the worst thing, Skeezy. A group of women, you know, putting, you know, your dirty laundry out for the world to see. You know what I mean? And I think
Right.
that's what our women been doing versus, you know, the other group of women, you know,
Now
like you're
that I
talking
agree
about.
on.
Yeah.
I agree on that. Yeah.
You know,
I
and
don't
we
know
have to
why.
go ahead.
It's like I guess they feel like they can't beat a man physically, so they could tear him down verbally or mentally, you know.
Yeah,
Uh
so to me, it sounds like our women is trying to compete, you know, with us, and you know, and that's fucked up. You know, if that's the case, you know, why, you know, do we have our women trying to compete with the men? You know, you have no other race in this world that's doing that. You know, other women will submit to their men. You know, they will allow their men to be men. You know, most of our women, you know, and this is crazy, man. You know, and most of our women act like they're men.
But you know how they say, one bad apple could spoil the whole bunch. And it probably is some men out there that ain't shit to where a woman feel like I don't need you, nigga. Like I could do bad by myself. But it's men out there taking care of their families, being a man, doing what they gotta do. And then now a man doing that getting tore down verbally, yeah, that's gonna do something to him. But what if you need a wake up call? If
Okay, so it looked like his battery did die out. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I understand where he was coming from. I'm gonna wait and see if he's able to get his phone back going up. You know, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, my whole thing is I want our women to understand that you know, you do need us being in your lives to be able to you know, be the head of the households and be able to raise these young men and women, you know, and show them that it's about family. It's about a man and a woman, being in the same household, and trying to raise a family. That's what it's about. That's what the Lord put a man and a woman here on this earth for, to be able to come together as one, and to be able to raise a family. And that's what we have gotten away from. It seems like our women are trying to compete with the men, and therefore we're having a conflict, on just everything. You know what I mean? So and it seems like and I'm not going to I am going to say that, it seems like we're the only group, we're the only race that doesn't get that, that doesn't understand that, and we've gotten away from the whole family values. You know what I mean? That it takes a man, and a woman to be able to raise a family, and that's the best. We'll put it this way: that it takes a man and a woman to give that child the best chance at being able to succeed. And I'm not saying that a child can't succeed, from a single family household, but you know um the statistics show that that child will have a better chance coming from a household with both parents. And that's what we've gotten out of, as a group, as a race, and other groups and races, you know, um, has continued to thrive and succeed, in that family value. We've allowed this, and we talked about this earlier at work. We've allowed this feminist movement, back in the 50s and 60s, destroy the mindsets of our women, having them thinking that they don't need a man, thinking that men are not shit, and thinking that they can do it alone on their own. The government has put the government has allowed our women to think that, and then supplied them with the so-called monetary gains that they'll be able to need, to think that they don't need this so-called black man in their lives, by providing them with welfare. And that's what's been going on, and that's what our women have failed to realize, when that whole act was passed. That's why our women feel like they don't need a man, because they're getting the assistance from the government with the Section 8, the welfare, the food stamps, and et cetera. But you take that away from these same women, that's receiving that, or you take this government away, then what do you have? You know what I mean? Especially if you're not out there getting it, on your own. And then Trump is getting ready to show you, if that mindset that you're in, that you don't need a nigga, that a nigga ain't shit, or this Section 8, this welfare shit, is getting ready to be over with. So for all the women think that they don't need a man for shit, and you continue to have kids by multiple men, and you don't think that he's not shit, and you're going to continue to have kids. That free ride, that government assistance, that Section 8, that shit is over with. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, we've allowed this feminist movement to destroy the mindset of our women, to think that you don't need a man for shit, to think that, and the only reason why our women think that shit, because they were getting payments from the government, they were getting assistance from the government, they were getting welfare, they were getting Section 8, because you take that shit away, I guarantee you, none of this verbiage, none of this, and I'm just going to be honest, none of this, I'm trying to find the word, but none of this, because and I'm gonna be honest, our women have gotten to the point where to the point where now they're, and I'm not going to say all, but they've gotten to the point where they feel like they don't need a man for shit, to the point where, it's a lot of women that's just sleeping around with women. They really feel like, that they don't need a man for shit, to the point where now, this whole lesbian, you know, movement, has overtook our women, to the point where, excuse me, you have a lot of women that, feel like that, well, not even feel, but you have a lot of women that don't even have dealings with men anymore, you know, for what reasons, and I can understand for certain reasons, like, trauma reasons, or, and I won't even get off into that, but, you have an abundance of our women that's not women anymore. They walking around here thinking that they're men, and that's crazy. It's to the point where it's and I know all races do it, but our race, when we do shit, we do it to the extreme, and it's to the point where, it's out of control. They do it around their children. um it's to the point where it's acceptable. It's not frowned upon. Like I said, at one point, it used to be looked at like it was not like it was a mental illness, because in my opinion, it's a mental illness, when you have a woman or a man walking around thinking that, when you have a man thinking he's a woman, or a woman who's thinking he's a man. And I think it's definitely a illness when you have, a woman, sleeping around with another woman. What woman doesn't want to be with a man? The Lord, and a lot of us are hypocritical. The Lord doesn't make any mistakes. What mistakes, like I said, the Lord doesn't make any mistakes. For a woman to think that, she's a man, and for a man to think that, he's a woman, it's sick. And we've allowed, and our government has allowed, um, us to, think that this is, okay, and now we're, allowing our children to accept this sickness. So at the end of the day, man, I'm just trying to bring awareness to, this whole situation, to the sickness that's going on through our community, with everything that I just been talking about. I'm waiting on East Skeezy to come in. It look like he has not been able to charge his phone up. But yeah, man, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. The comment section is open. I need for you guys to comment, give me your opinion. I want to know what you think about this whole situation. The comment section is open. I see it. No one has commented, but it's cool. I mean, I'll probably see the comments tomorrow. But yeah, the only thing I want is, the best for our people. I don't judge anyone. Love who you love. That's how I look at things. But when it's affecting the community as a whole, then you have to realize that it's some bullshit. You've been lied to, and it's not the right thing, and you need some help. You know what I mean? And just real is just real. You know what I mean? Especially with men walking around thinking that you a woman, you switching. I have to see this all day. Out in society, men, that's supposed to be men, and you walking around here switching like a woman. That's crazy. Like I said, at the end of the day, I don't judge a man, but come on. If you were born a man, you are me. You are a man. Accept what you are. And like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not here to judge, but I'm just here to, keep it real. And that's it. It's only one way, either you're a man or a woman. All that in between shit is a flock of bullshit. And it's an excuse, and a poor excuse for a man or a woman to think that if you're a man that you're not, or if you're a woman that you're not, there's no in between. And then that only that, we have youth and we have children and I have children, I have grandchildren, I want my children and grandchildren to be able to walk around this society and think that, a man is for a woman, and a woman is for a man. I don't want my son to be competing or my grandchild to be competing with another woman. You know what I mean? And that's crazy and that's sick. So we just need to get back to um, to reality, because when people are, those who think that way are not living in reality. At the end of the day, I'm not judging anyone. I'm just speaking my opinion, about this whole situation, because at the end of the day, like I said, the God doesn't make any mistake. He made man and women, and without a man and without a woman coming together, you cannot create a family. And at the end of the day, and that's what, listen, if you cannot, you can, a woman and a woman cannot create a family. A man and a man cannot create a family. So anything other than that, you've been lied to is some bullshit. Only a man and a woman together can create a family. A family is not a family if you have a woman and however many kids she got. That's not a family. That's just a woman with multiple kids. You know what I mean? And it goes the same thing with a man and kids. If he just he's just a single man with kids. A family is a man and a woman with kids. And that's what it is. Don't let um this new era bullshit fool you. You know what I mean? Especially if you believe in your maker or whatnot. You know what I mean? So look, I've been trying to wait on East Skeezy to come back. It's Freestyle Friday. I have a few people watching. I need you guys to comment. I would love to hear you guys' opinion on this whole situation. We've been talking about family and trying to uplift each and every one of your family member, within that family um that's coming together, on a business venture, and that's what it's about. That's what I'm about. I'm trying to uplift each and every one who's with me, and that's what it's about. That's what life is about, I should say, trying to uplift, each and everyone that's around you, and just trying to make life better for each and everyone that's around you, and that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Because if you're the only one successful around you, how fun is that? Because everyone is going to be trying to leech off the only successful one. So you have to be able to make everyone around you successful. And it's only fun, or it's only better when those around you benefit from the hard work that you guys put in. And that's what I'm about. You know what I mean? Just trying to put in work and just trying to make everyone successful, around me. And that's and that's the mindset that everyone should have. I talked about this at my annual my at my class reunion. I'm like, it's about trying to make each and every one of us successful. I'm like, get behind each and every one of us. If you know somebody that does home improvement, like Prime Time, I'm like, definitely, like, when you need sit down around your house, we know who does it. Dion Patterson. Get behind him. You know, and I'll mention LaFon. If you got an event, that you want planned, she's a good person to be able to, help you to get behind you to plan stuff. You have we have plenty of Keith Travis, a good friend of mine, another friend of mine, and I don't want to mix his name up, but we have a lot of people that I went to school with that's real estate agents, you know what I mean? Willie Graham, you know what I mean? So if you're looking for a house, you're trying to buy a house within a city, get what Willie Graham or Keith Travis, these are guys that I know that, that's doing those type of things, so that's what it's about, man. If you can't support your family and friends, like, well, goddamn, who the fuck you gonna support? The ops. What I mean? Because if you're not supporting family and friends, that's who you're supporting, and it's about trying to uplift those that's around you, and that's the message that we were trying to talk about today, and that we were trying to get across. Support those who support you, and it's best to try to do things as a family. You know what I mean? What better way than family trying to support each and every one, trying to uplift each and every one of us who's trying to do better for themselves. You know what I mean? If someone has a plan, and it's a logical plan, get behind them and support them, because that's what it's about. Support them, try to back them, give them the encouragement, that they need to be able to be successful, and you back them. So it's too many other races that has showed us the blueprint and that's been successful, with the whole family thing, family, and we the only race that think that, we can't be successful with our family. It's been proven by other races that you can be successful with family, and what other way to do it than with family, you know what I mean? So and that's what we were talking about today. What our Freestyle Friday was about. Just trying to do things with family and just trying to make things successful. I have a few guys that you watching. Please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and share. I am getting close to my goals over here on YouTube. I appreciate those who have supported me along the way, those who've been watching all my content, those who've been liking, subscribing, and sharing. It goes a long way. And I'm going to remember, those who supported me, along my journey, along my way. And I'm going to always support, those who supported me. And that's what it's about in life. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. I got to drink some water. But and that's what it's about. Supporting those who support you. And support, your family and friends who does have logical, ideas that that can be successful. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. It's about trying to make yourself successful, to be able to put yourself and your family, in a great position, and then bring those that's around you up. That's what it's about. So look, I don't have anything else to add. I definitely want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I have a few people watching. What time is it? It's 3:18. So yeah, I'm not going to be on here too much longer. I got a few things that I have to take care of tomorrow, family wise. That I'm going to be dealing with. But yeah, it's been a great show. I want to give a shout out to Lori. I want to give a shout out to E Skeezy. You know what I mean? These are things that we envision. These are things that we're talked about. And you guys will be able to see um, us put everything that we talked about into fruition. You know what I mean? And like I said, I want to thank everybody who's subscribed thus far, who supported me, who's been behind me and everything that I do. You know, it goes a long way, you know. And like I said, at the end of the day, I'm going to remember everybody who supported me along the way. And that's what it's all about, just trying to support, you know, each and every one, and everything that you do, you know, because if we all had that mindset, we all can be successful, you know. And that's what it's about, you know, we just don't have enough people believing in our dream, you know, if we can get a couple people to believe in what we do, things can be successful, but it takes more than one. I've realized that, and most people that's successful, has realized that, you can't do everything on your own. You're always going to need somebody to be able to help you and uplift you, and keep you motivated throughout your journey. You know what I mean? So look, like I said, we're going to be bringing, we're going to be adding a little bit of different things to the show. We're going to be adding some things to the show. I'm going to be trying to post more content, every day. At one point we were, I do work a full-time job, but I'm trying to get to the point where, well, once I do get to the point where I can be able to put out more content, so like I said, at the end of the day, I want to thank everybody who has supported me thus far and continue to support me. Please make sure that you guys are liking, that you guys are commenting, and you're sharing, because everything that you do, all the interactions help the show. You know what I mean? So I appreciate everybody and everything that you guys have been doing. So continue, to watch the show, continue to share, continue to like, because like I said, I've been trying to add new things to the show. I'm going to be adding new people to the show, and just more content and just new ideas, So I don't have anything else to add. It's been another one. It's your boy Dame D, and I am out. Peace.